Nkechi Taifa, welcome to the Chavis Chronicles.
I'm thrilled to be here with you.
Tell us where you were born. You're a native from D.C.
Native Washingtonian, born and raised in the nation's capital.
Why did you decide to go into law?
Well, my daddy always said, Needy, that was my nickname growing up, you have to be good with numbers to be a doctor, good with letters to be a lawyer. The solution was clear to me. I never was good with numbers, but I could talk. So I decided to become a lawyer. But it was even more than that. It was really the times during which my coming of age occurred, which was kind of like after the Civil Rights Movement. I'm in the 8th grade when Black Studies is first coming into the classroom. And I'm at Rev Junior High School, and there's this poster on the bulletin board of my Black Studies classroom, 1968. Of a black man with a black beret on his head, with a spear in one hand and a rifle in the other hand, sitting in a Grand Slam wicker chair. And Dr. Ben,
sounds like Huey Newton.
That's exactly what. But I was asking the teacher, well, why is he in prison? Why is the head of the Black Panther Party being represented by white lawyers? I'm asking, where are the black lawyers to represent the black people? And then I knew I wanted to be one of those black lawyers to help represent black people.
You're one of the lead lawyers now in the reparations movement. Tell us about your relationship with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and H.R. 40, the legislation there in Congress on reparations.
So actually, my involvement well predates Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. I worked very closely with Congressman John Conyers when H.R. 40 was first being talked about and introduced. It came out in 1989. The Japanese American Redress Bill had just passed Congress as the Civil Liberties Act in 1988. And many of us in the community were looking around and said, well, if they could give reparations to Japanese Americans, what about us? So we worked very closely with Congressman Conyers in fashioning H.R. 40, what became known as H.R. 40, the Commission to Study and Develop Reparation Proposals for African Americans Act. That was over 30 years ago.
So are you saying that H.R. 40 has been in the legislative hopper over 30 years?
You got it, absolutely. And it basically has been languishing in Congress. It wasn't until really after the retirement of Congressman John Conyers and he passed the mantle to Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Michael Brown, happened, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, everyone's in the streets, and the momentum and the energy behind reparations really picked up steam. So many of us, a number of us with groups I'm involved with, reparations groups, meet on a weekly basis with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, strategizing, organizing, mobilizing, to the point now where, for the first time ever, the bill passed out of Judiciary Committee. First time ever. We're awaiting a vote on the House floor. There is a Senate companion bill that's been introduced by Senator Cory Booker. Again, first time in history. But we also hopefully have or should have an ace in the hole with President Biden, because he can just, with the stroke of a pen, sign an executive order bringing H.R. 40 into existence. And we can have that study commission right here, right now, to begin to study and develop these reparation proposals.
So there's a plan A and a plan B.
You got it.
You have a new book out, Black Power, Black Lawyer.
Yeah.
Tell us about the book.
Yeah, Black Power, Black Lawyer. Well, I just say in a nutshell, it's an authentic recitation of my story with honesty and with authenticity. And really what I really seek to do is to uplift movements and uplift people that were very, very essential to myself and my development. People who have been kind of like swept from the annals of history, have been swept under the rug. Names that you don't know of, like Queen Mother Audley Moore, who is what I call the mother of the reparations movement. Dr. Brother Imari Abubakari Obadeli, who spent time in prison when you were in prison way back in the day. Brother Chokwe Lumumba, who later became the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi. Yes. His son now holds that position. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, who I feel first engineered the term white supremacy. Unfortunately, she didn't live long enough to see that term becoming part of mainstream parlance. Dr. Jean Sindab, I worked with her with the Washington Office on Africa as part of the anti-apartheid movement, and Safia Bukhari, who was a member of the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army, who went to prison, and it's just, these are all ancestors, all of them, that I dedicated my book to. But guess what, Reverend Dr. Ben Chavis, you were one of my inspirations way back in the day. I'm a college student, Howard University, and I'm part of the Wilmington 10 Defense Committee.
Is that right?
Yes, indeed, absolutely. You didn't know me. I'm just a little peon, a little college student. But I remember even taking the bus with a group down to Wilmington, North Carolina, to call for your freedom. And these are some of the things I talk about in my book. These are some of the things that I try to fight against, and some of the ways in which I try to make a difference.
You mentioned our brother Hrap Brown. He's changed his name. He's languishing in federal prison. Can you tell us what are the circumstances?
Yes, well, for those who might recall back in the day, Hrap Brown was basically targeted by the government under the COINTELPRO program, which I spoke about. The dirty tricks, the wiretaps, et cetera, et cetera. So they have been following him all of these years. He went to prison back then he was out, he became an imam in the Muslim religion. And basically his support committee says that he was framed for the killing of a person. He's always maintained his innocence. My understanding is there's evidence of that innocence, but again, he still languishes in prison.
I think someone came forward who said that the killing that happened, I think in Georgia, a person confessed to doing it. Mm-hmm. And yet he's still in prison for something someone else has already confessed to.
Absolutely. And that's one of the problems with our legal system that we have today. You can, in fact, be innocent, okay? But the doors to the courthouse can be shut on you. And we're talking about someone who's not young anymore. We're talking about an elder. We're talking about someone who is suffering from many different ailments. We're talking about someone who is a COVID survivor. And he's not alone. There are others as well. There's Mumia Abu-Jamal. There's so many others. We don't know their names. There are others who had to flee the country, such as Pete O'Neill, who's in Tanzania, Sada Shakur, who's in Cuba. We need to bring these folk home. And actually, it could be part of a reparations settlement. Most folk don't know that part of the Japanese-American reparations bill included a pardon for all of those who resisted detention camp internment. We can use that model here from our freedom fighters who are still languishing in prison as well.
Nkechi Taifa, thank you for joining us and for sharing your wisdom on the Chavis Chronicles.
Thank you so very much. It has been my honor and my privilege.
We thank our guest, Dr. Julianne Malvo, Founding Dean of Ethnic Studies at Cal State Los Angeles, and Nkechi Taifa, convener for the Justice Roundtable, for joining us on the Chavis Chronicles.